So your name is Kevin
Pariseau.
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 And you're playing Colonel
Pickering. Correct.
And Gayton Scott, you're playing Mrs. Pearce, respectively.
Correct.
So my questions are going to be the same for both of you, and you know, you can say something or,
Yeah.
you know, you
Great.
So it's basically the same question, but I'll start with you, Mr. Pariseau. Tell us about the musical My Fair Lady and the character you play.
Well, at the beginning of the show, there's a scene in which Henry Higgins meets Eliza Doolittle, who's selling flowers at Covent Garden. My character, Colonel Pickering, also happens to be there, and he hears Higgins say that he essentially could change this flower girl into a princess if he could only change her accent. The following day, I make a bet with him, and I say, my character says, well, I don't think you can actually do it. I'll pay for the whole experiment, but I bet you can't do it. And so that begins the story of the play. And Colonel Pickering is around for the entire thing. He's visiting Henry
Yes.
Higgins, and he never leaves.
Yeah. That's right, right. Yeah, he likes it so much he never leaves. And I play Mrs. Pearce, who runs the household for Higgins at 27A Wimpole, which is the home of Professor Henry Higgins, and I am his head housekeeper. So I keep the staff in line there a wee bit, and him a wee bit, as much as one can.
Tell us about your career on and off Broadway, as well as how you got started.
Okay, go for it.
All right.
Yeah.
So I moved to New York in the mid-'90s and auditioned for a show that was happening off Broadway. It was called I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change. That show ran for 10 years, and I did it for off and on for about 9 of it.
Amazing.
So it was the beginning of a very nice, secure time in New York. Having just moved there, it was nice to have that security.
Amazing.
Yeah, it really was.
Amazing, yeah.
And then from then on, you know, you just keep auditioning, keep going. We had a child, and my wife and I had a child in 2002. So this is the first tour I've ever been on because I've had a kid to look after, you know, and you can't just leave. You can't just leave for a year. So he's now a senior in high school, and so
Getting into college.
Exactly, and
yes.
so I got to hit the road.
Congratulations. Well done, sir. Yeah, and me too. I guess my dad was an actor, so it didn't seem like a crazy thing to do, even though indeed it is. I don't advise it for everyone. But you know, I'm a New York native, yes, which I know everybody goes, wow, you're a rarity. We lived in the city till I was 7, and then my folks moved 25 miles up the Hudson to Westchester County. So I started taking class with the late, sadly, the late William Esper, and in his 2-year studio in New York, and I started there, and then I finished with Bill, and one of my first auditions, I mean, it didn't end up being a 10-year job like Kevin's was, but I went to this huge, you know, cattle call. I didn't have my equity card yet for this European tour of King Lear. And I ended up booking the youngest daughter, Cordelia. So I know it was crazy.
Wow,
yeah,
that's
so
amazing.
I went off, you know, and did that. I think it was for 6 months. And,
Oh, wow.
And then eventually I came back to New York. I got my equity card. You know, you get in the union, and you know, one thing leads to another.
Right.
You get an agent, or you know, or you switch agents or whatever, you know, and one audition after another, and hopefully things work out. And you know, there are good years and not so good years, but you know, that's the life.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It sure is. That is the life.
And that's show business.
All right. My third question is, what has been your favorite show or character you have had a chance to play?
Oh, well, I had I love doing musicals. I do a lot of musicals.
So awesome.
But when I have that rare opportunity to do a play, it can really be a lovely, joyous thing. There's a show called Vanya, Sonia, Masha,
Oh,
and
yes.
Spike. That has a character in it, who
Yes.
delivers a 10-minute long monologue at the
Yes.
end. And I got to do this role and that monologue, and it was so refreshing to do some real heavy-duty work on a really excellent play. And I really enjoyed playing Vanya, and that was just a
Yes.
grand time.
Oh,
And
I bet you were wonderful.
Oh,
I've
you're
auditioned for it
so
twice.
sweet.
I've never gotten it.
Oh,
No.
you'll get it.
I
Believe
know.
you'll get it someday. Keep auditioning, Gayton. But yeah, so I would count that one as a really
Sweet.
just a great experience. And
Yeah.
it's such a fine play, but to have that huge, beautiful monologue at the end, oh, it's so
Yes.
great.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that.
Nice, yeah,
Yeah.
and you don't have to sing.
Yes, that's the other thing. You don't have
Which
to stop
is
and
easier. You don't have
so
to,
much easier.
check in every right. God, I mean, these people who do musicals, it's amazing to me. I kind of do maybe half and half, but I think it's hard to say favorite, but I think I have three, maybe three top tier.
There you go.
And that would be Beatrice in A View from the Bridge by Arthur Miller, Wisa in 6 Degrees of Separation by John Guare, and I think probably The Countess in A Little Night Music by Stephen Sondheim. Those are probably my
Yeah,
top
great.
three.
Beautiful.
I think those are my top three picks, if I had to pick.
And you're
Yeah.
perfect for all of them.
God bless you. You're very kind. We like each other, yes. We're fans of the other, yes.
Okay, my first question is, okay, what would you like to tell someone who has never seen My Fair Lady or has never attended a musical?
Oh,
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that My Fair Lady is all about is accents. The whole story is sort of based on accents and a woman improving her accent. And so I think when people come in, they're shocked at first to hear, these British accents. And it's a range of, high-class accent to
Yes.
low-class accent.
Yeah.
And so I think people, if they come to My Fair Lady in particular, should be ready for hearing some
Yes,
very
yeah.
interesting and very excellent accent work. But it is some people are like, well, I didn't know.
Yeah.
It is a show about people and their station according to their accent.
It's so true. How, and especially I think in England at this time, which a little bit after turn of the century.
Yeah, right. 1913, I think it's
right.
set.
How accent very much relates to class and station, and that's the whole.
That's the whole play.
That's the whole play
Yeah.
with Eliza, that she goes from her lower class, from her Cockney, which is like this, right? I mean, she's really, how that, as Higgins says, that will leave her in the gutter. Her accent will leave her in the gutter, right?
Right.
Not anything about her person,
Right.
but how the way she speaks will leave her in her class, and that's
Right.
the bet. I
Right.
can make people think, in 6 months, I can make people think that this young lady is a duchess, is royalty. And he says, if she has a quick ear and she's good,
Right.
which she ends up being brilliant at it, and we see her transformation.
Right.
But yeah, come to the theater. I mean,
It's gorgeous.
there's nothing like the live theater.
Yeah. And music.
It's a communal experience. You're all in that room, in that theater, in that auditorium, in that space, one night. And even though we say the same lines every night and sing the
Right.
same songs, but it's slightly different every night. And whatever is going on out in that audience, that energy feeds
Informs
us.
all of us. Yeah.
And it's a big circle. There's nothing like I think Martin
Yeah.
McDonough, the fantastic crazy Martin McDonagh, the Irish playwright, said it's a box to tell a story in.
Yeah. And with the
And
musical,
it's wonderful.
Yes,
Yeah.
truly. And with the musical, you have the heightened beauty of an orchestra of 17.
Oh, my God.
We have an
Yeah.
orchestra. There are 2 tours out on the road right now that have the orchestra the size that we do. One is us, and the other is Hello Dolly. There's no orchestra larger than that on the road right now. There's a harp in the pit. I mean, like
Yeah.
we're talking about
Beautiful.
a beautiful sounding orchestra, and to have that support and sound in this show
Yes.
is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's such a classic show,
Yeah.
and to have that classic orchestra down there, it's just so rich. It's a rich experience to hear that.
And these folks sing stunningly.
Thank you.
mean-
Thank you, Gayton.
You are very welcome, sir. They do. They sing gloriously. So yeah, come to the theater. It'll change your life.
It will.
Right? Yeah.
All right. My 5th question is, okay, why do you think exposing people to the arts and theater is so important?
Listen, what Gayton said a minute ago is absolutely true. There are very few moments in our lives when you are in a room with other people experiencing what it's like to be other people. I mean, we can see film all the time, and film takes you off in fantastical, beautiful directions. But the theater, you're there with that person. There's something communal about that,
Yes.
and something that is, in a way, it's like church. I mean, like you go for the experience of being in this room with these other folks. Thornton Wilder said that theater is the only art form in which a human being gets to experience what it's like to be another human being by watching a human being. You are in front of people. There's nothing separating the live nature of you and the live nature of you. And that, I think, is what makes the theater a special art form.
Yeah,
It's why it's lasted 2,000 years. I mean,
Hello.
like, there's
Yeah, it
the only
goes-
difference between what the Greeks did and what we're doing is lights and
Well,
text
exactly.
and microphones.
You know, right.
It's all
Technical
story-
aspects,
right.
right.
It's all
lighting.
storytelling.
Yeah, it's all storytelling, exactly. It's a box to tell a story in, yeah. Yeah, and hopefully, people, your great hope, I think, is that, to reflect the human experience, what our experience is in this world as human beings. And hopefully people sitting out there either recognize themselves or don't, which is also fantastic, because I think it opens you up to other ideas, other ways of being.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's about, isn't it? Our human experience. We're not all one thing, thank God. It'd be so bloody boring if we were, right? I mean,
Truly.
right? We're not all one thing. Let's be tolerant of what we're not and accepting of what we're not and what we are. So I think.
And the live theater provides a place in which those types of stories support those types of ideas.
I think so, right?
know?
I hope so. We hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope so. I just saw this thing, Bartlett Shear, who directed our production, is also the director of To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway right now.
Right.
And last night, for the first time, they put To Kill a Mockingbird, the live production,
right.
into
I heard about
Madison Square Garden, if you can imagine, which holds, I don't know how many thousands of people,
Right.
but it was all students, all kids, and it was free. And I saw some
Oh,
clips
wow.
of it, and some of the kids talking about, some kids were saying, it's my first time going to a play.
Oh, great.
Or, and what an iconic American story
Yeah.
to tell, and a lot of them, of course, had read the book, and now they're seeing, Aaron Sorkin and Bart's take on that great American story by Harper Lee. But I looked at it and I thought, my God, what an amazing thing for these
Yeah.
kids.
Truly.
And also for those actors.
Oh my
It
gosh.
must have been, they must have been gobsmacked. I mean, I can't
Totally.
imagine being in Madison Square Garden doing a play. You know, so yeah, it's as I say, go to the theater, you won't regret it.
And the final question I'd like to ask, is there anything you would like to tell us about yourself or even the play My Fair Lady?
Well, I can tell you that one of the joys of doing this tour for me is meeting other actors who are similarly minded and excited to be on this journey. You know, there are a lot of great plays and musicals out there. This is one of the best, and the company of actors that we have doing this is exceptional, and it is such a joy every night to come into the theater, be with all these other people, and present this story night after night in city after city. That's the real joy of it to me, is that, you know, as I said, being on a tour for the first time, the idea of taking this story to different cities and sharing that is it's a real gift to me, because I love working with people like Gayton and this company. It's filled with such lovely, delightful, exceptional actors, and I'm just looking forward to a year of being with them.
Yeah, I think we both feel lucky, you know, to be a part of something that you know is wonderful, because that's not always the case.
She's absolutely right.
Sometimes you're in something and you think, this might be a stinker. Yeah.
But not this show.
But not this show.
This is a...
Yeah, so we're lucky.
Yeah.
And as I second my friend Kevin here, that we have an exceptional group of talented, lovely humans. And it's a privilege to share the stage with them every night, and also just to, you know, be on airplanes and buses and cars and all the rest. So yeah.
Yeah.